Hello, everyone. My name is Christina Hill, and I am a health coach, and I specialize in emotional eating. And today I am going to go over a few things. I want to introduce first my co host today, Sean Hill. I'll be interviewing him the second half of this content so that we can get an idea of how he's doing and what he's doing for his fitness. Okay. But before we jump into his interview, I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about emotional eating and the five pillars that affect emotional eating and bio individuality. So let's jump in. Let's keep it very simple. I don't want to get too technical. Okay. So, um, what is emotional eating? Well, eating for a purpose other than for for nourishment or to satisfy hunger. Using food as a coping mechanism for emotions that you don't want to feel, and using food to self soothe, make yourself numb, or to fill a void. Last, to feel a sense of control. So, but I do want to let you guys know those are the things that kind of flag to let you know that you're emotional eating. But also to let you guys know that all of us do emotional eating sometimes. Okay. For instance, when we have Thanksgiving and we're all excited, happiness and being with each other, and we eat Thanksgiving dinner, for example. But emotional eating is about emotional hunger, not physical hunger. Emotional eating is about eating habits plus emotions. And these things disconnect us from our personal body, allowing us to tell us when we're hungry. So instead of our body telling us we're hungry, we're pushed by our emotions and we eat more. Or on the other end of the spectrum, you eat less and you don't get enough nourishment. Okay. And if you see me looking down, I just want to make sure that I'm covering everything because I want you guys to get the most out of this. Okay. All right. So, what does this look like? So, first, before that, I want to let you guys know about bio individuality. What is bio individuality? Bio individuality is letting you know everybody's body is different. There's not a diet like one size fits all. You have to look at what your body needs, what your body responds to, and what is going on in your life. And that's all personal to you. So that's part of bio individuality. You look at your own biological makeup. Okay. And to go a little bit deeper into this emotional eating and what it looks like, I have to explain to you guys in my coaching, in my studies, we discussed two plates. You have your primary plate and you have your secondary plate. So, Chris, what is a primary plate? Your primary plate consists of the five pillars: relationships, finance, career, exercise, and spirituality. Okay. Those five things are your primary plate. Now, your secondary plate consists of the food you actually eat. Okay. So, with this primary plate, with your relationships, your exercise, your career, your finances, and your spirituality, if any of these things are out of balance or being neglected, it shows up on your secondary plate. And that's the food you're eating. And for an example of this, we have COVID, the lockdown. During this lockdown, a lot of people gained weight. And you say, what? Well, what happened? Why did people gain weight? Well, because a lot of people were cut off from the relationships, which is part of that five pillars. Okay. So they were cut off from relationships. They were eating more to self soothe. Maybe financial issues were happening because maybe they lost their job during that time period. Um, so then that affected their finances. people were unable to go to worship, with spirituality, or just doing your own personal worship. People started to cut back. And so what caused that secondary plate to fill up with things that we don't need is our primary plate fell apart. So people started to gain weight. Also, what causes this is like loss of loved ones. I personally have experienced this. I lost both parents during that time period, from losing my parents and then also great aunts that I love very dearly and cousins. During that time period, I gained over 100 pounds because I was stressed out. My relationships, close relationships, were gone. I was stopped exercising. My career is very stressful, and I am currently doing self care around my career. Finances, because we had to spend extra money because of not being as prepared as we should have been. And then my spirituality, I had withdrawn from church, from reading my Bible and stuff like that. So that's what I gained. So, and then opposite of that is some people, when they go through grief or any things, they stop eating. So then you lose that nourishment and your body's not getting the things that it needs. So, if you're stressed out, if you're going through any of these things, these 5 pillars that are changing, like I said before, it does affect your secondary plate. So, however you practice spirituality, I would like for you, because this is one of the things people ask about, well, what is spirituality? Spirituality for me is God, devotion, meditation. Spirituality may look different for you. Okay. And that's fine. If it looks different for you, that's fine. But I want you to see it. When you stop practicing your spiritual life, I would like for you to journal a little bit and see how your eating is affected. And you'd be surprised about that. Okay. So let's ask our guest, Mr. Sean Hill, that's on here with us, my hubby. And he is a video content creator. And let's talk about his primary plate and how it affected his health and his weight. Hey, honey. Thank you for being with me today and being my first guest on the show.
It's an honor, sweetie. Glad to be here.
All right. So I wanted to ask you, and we're going to look at the past few years first and then go to current time. Over the past few years, how would you say your career affected or contributed to your weight?
Well, while I was at AT&T, I left AT&T about over a year ago in April of 2021. So it's almost coming up on 2 years now. And before that, it was affected because of the stress. I was in a position that was very stressful, that I really felt like I really wasn't. It's not even about being valued. I just didn't want to be in that position anymore. And I wanted to do some things on my own. That's one of the things that COVID taught me, is that you have to seize the moment. So at that time, we had a great discussion about, okay, is this a great time to leave? And a couple of things fell the right way, and said, okay, this is the time to leave. So the stress that had contributed to my weight, now that was gone, guess what? Now I had freedom. Now I could kind of work out more when I wanted to. And actually, and know this, I had actually, over that season, I had actually lost over 125 pounds because I was working out, but I didn't do it the right way. At the time, I didn't know it. I just didn't do it the right way. I was really working out a lot. I was really restricting my calories, and the results were great, but I really wasn't thinking long term. So anyway, long story short, then what happened, I got away from focusing on my weight and wanted to focus more on the business and making money. And when that happened, I really cut back on working out. I wasn't watching my diet. And then guess what? I gained back 74 of the 125 that I lost. Good news was I didn't gain back everything. Bad news was I got away from what I was doing and really gained that weight back. So on one hand, when I got freedom, it was good. I got freedom. But then because I wasn't thinking long term, that freedom kind of came and kind of bit me in the rear a little bit. And now, thankfully, I've gotten that back. I'm because of what you've been sharing with me and your knowledge and thinking long term, not short term focus. Now I have something that's sustainable that I can keep doing.
That's wonderful, because you hit on a great point there. You want to hit something that's sustainable. And when we talk about career, we talk about our finances, exercise, relationships, and spirituality. Each one of those things, you want to pick something that's you're able to sustain, that you can add to your life forever.
Hmm.
Because as we know, health is not health and weight loss is not just some short-term thing.
Hmm.
It's a journey. We want to get better as we age. We want to continue to get better. We want to continue to get healthier and stronger. And so doing quick, short, fast, little things to drop weight suddenly is really not good for our health. It's really not good for sustainability. What happens, like you said, you usually gain it back plus some. Thank goodness that you were able to catch that in time. And so I also want to ask you, when you look at your finances, our finances, like back in the past versus now, do you think that contribute to your weight
Oh,
gain?
absolutely. Absolutely. You know, a lot of times when you're financially stressed, you're looking for that emotional comfort because food is one thing that never turns you down. It's always going to be there for you. It's always going to comfort you. It's always going to give you that comfort that you're expecting. That's why a lot of times it's called comfort food. And so when you're stressed, a lot of times we become nervous and people just handle stress differently. I tend to eat my stress. In other words, I'll snack a lot. So I have meals here and there, but man, I really, really snack. So when you're under that kind of pressure, it's easy to overconsume, overeat a lot more calories than you're thinking, and just because you want to feel better. And so, thankfully, our finances have gotten a lot better. We're more in control of those, and I think that's played a huge part in helping me stay away from all that stress eating.
Yes. And just for a tip for you guys about finances, um, what we did was we looked at our finances and the things that weren't, uh, like bills and stuff like that, the extra stuff, what we did, we looked and we cut back and we started adding that money to our savings. And so that alleviates a lot of stress. When you start, even if it's just a little bit, if it's $5, $10, it builds over time and it helps you to relieve the stress of, you know, being stressed out about bills or whatever may come up, out of the blue. Because we've had some things come up out of the blue where we had to take care of them. And we were able to do so because we had cut back and started that
Mm-hmm.
savings. So that's important. And so also, you did touch on exercise, saying that after you got to a certain point, you stopped exercising, you started focusing more on your career. And so that it contributed to your weight gain as well, correct?
Yes, it did. And it really wasn't that I stopped exercising. I just minimized it. When I was going hard, you were here, you saw it. I was going so hard that really wasn't sustainable. So what I did is I cut back because I was spending an hour in the morning going on a jog. I mean, literally jogging for an hour. Then I would go up to the park and do another 30 minutes. Then I'll go up to the mall later on in the day and do some stairs for that's another 30 minutes. And I did that like 6 days a week, 6 days a week. And so when you go from that high level of cardio, really wasn't even doing any resistance training at that time. When you go from that high level of cardio to even going back to regular something that's just really sustainable, that's going to take a toll. That's going to have an effect. And then when you don't have your eating dialed in, then you're just going to see that you're working out even on a regular good basis is not going to be able to overcome your eating bad. And so that's kind of what happened. So that's how that
Mhm.
balance happened. I was just doing things that were so extreme that they weren't sustainable.
Okay. So also I would like to you touch on the last 2 points, the spirituality and relationships. During the past, how did those spirituality and relationships affect you versus now?
Yeah. Well, those are two huge things. When you have that connection with God and you kind of move away from it, you get busy, you get focused on other things, you lose a sense of connection. And now I'm not where I want to be, but I'm definitely better moving in that direction. And so that plays a big part. And of course, we know how finances play a part in relationships. So when there's stress and the finances and that moves over to the relationship, and the relationship is kind of stressful, then that plays a part in everything as well. And so now, not that everything is involved around finances, we just know how to navigate those things better. We're communicating better, and
Yes.
that's alleviating a lot of stress. And so it makes a big difference. Relationships are very important.
Yes. And because once happens is if you get that sense of loneliness, that's another thing that contributes to that secondary plate. Because like you said, we start searching for comfort foods. We start going back to what made us feel good. And then your body starts going into that protective mode where it's putting
Mhm.
on weight as a comfort to you. And so when you start looking at all of these things, everyone, I just want to let you know, um, you want to just every now and then check in with your body on these five areas to see what's going on in your life, especially if you see some type of dietary change,
Mhm.
where you're eating more or you're not eating enough. Go back to these five pillars and say, hey, what's changed in my life? Am I stressed out about my job? Am I my finances? How are my relationships? Is it my spiritual connection? Am I meditating? Because that's one thing that when I got away from meditation, um, it really stressed me out more because my job was stressful and that situation,
Mhm.
and then anything on top of that just really blew me out of the water. And so I didn't have that grounding, that connection, which made me eat more because I was looking for comfort. And
Mhm.
so then, so that's what I want you guys to do. What you can do is take a journal and start journaling about how you feel, and then journal what you ate that day and look at the correlation to see, okay, is there anything changed? What's going on? And then what you can do is you could be able to pinpoint, hey, I was really stressed out today about my relationship. And so I ate what piece of a chocolate cake that I don't normally eat. And I ate
Mhm.
like 5 pieces. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Stuff like that. So, and it doesn't have to be that extreme, but when you see changes, you do want to go back and assess. And one thing I really loved about our founder that where I got my coaching certification is he said one day he started eating Ben and Jerry's. He was eating a pint of Ben and Jerry's every day. And that's not like him. So what he did was he was like, wait a minute, something's going on in my life. So he looked at these five areas and he said, oh, and he found what it was. He's like, this is what it was. So what he did was, did he put down the Ben and Jerry's? No, not right away. What happened was he started working on that area. He brought that area up. And when he did that, his need for that comfort food went down.
Mhm.
So that's what I'm talking about today is with emotional eating. Emotions drive so much for us. It drives our eating a lot or not eating enough. And so that's one thing I'd like for you guys to do is to do some journaling. That's helpful. And then after you figure out which area it is that you need work on, um, then you know you can drill down, like I said, take care and pull up that area and just do a check in with yourself
Mhm.
once, twice a month to see what's going on. Journal every day, journal your feelings, journal because it helps you get that out, helps you get rid of stress. That's really good for you. If you're not into journaling, you can type it up or record, just so that you have something to uh, remind you of what happened that week and what you were eating that week so you see any changes. And last but not least, you can contact me for a free 15-minute conversation to determine if you are ready to put in the work for change. Okay. And you can reach me there at ChristinaPHill.com. All right. And today I want to thank Sean so much for coming on and sharing your story. Anytime you share a story, it's very personal to you. And I appreciate that. And one thing I do for my clients is I hold space for you. Okay. I allow you to be authentic, to show up, to share, to be able to feel vulnerable. I will hold that space for you. I will listen to you. If your doctor is telling you something and your nutritionist is telling you something and you're having a hard time figuring out what to do to reach those goals, reach out to me. Let's have a conversation. Even if you're not, if you just find out that you're doing a lot of emotional eating and you don't know where it's coming from, but you see you're gaining weight or you're losing a lot of weight quickly, and it's because you're not getting enough nutrition, reach out to me. I'll hold space for you. Let's have that 15-minute discussion and talk about it. And then we can go further. But I want to thank you all so much for being with us today. Thank you, Sean Hill, for being with me. Next week, we're going to discuss the signs that show you are an emotional eater. Okay. And in the meantime, if you have any questions or anything, hit me up in my ChristinaPHill.com. You can hit me up in the DM as well and ask me any questions you'd like, and I will answer them for you. Thank you, my loves, and have a good day. Bye-bye.